My name is Kurt Vickers, owner of Triad Gym and Performance Training Center here in Farmington Hills. Today we want to talk about core strengthening for hockey players. As we know, core strength is important for every single sport, especially for hockey where we're playing on this unstable surface. Let me briefly tell you where the core is, and for our purposes, the core is really through the whole center of the body. Just like an apple has a core, the body has a core as well. But we're going to talk specifically the mid-thigh area, the low rib cage area, and all this stuff in between here, in the trunk, the high hip flexor area, the abdominal region, and even some of the muscles that lie underneath the abdominals. Many people don't realize, but the body has layers of muscles. We go almost 5 layers deep on the front side of the body and another 5 to 6 layers deep on the back side. That's 10 layers of muscle that we have to engage. So this particular motion is just one of many that I would suggest to you. This is a fairly dynamic motion, and before we even got into this, I would want to make sure that people have good control through this area, through this pelvic region, that they can go into what's called a pelvic tilt, flatten out that low back. Hockey puts us into this forward position, holding on to a skate, bent over. That in itself can lend to a lot of back issues and problems. That's why we see a lot of low back pain in hockey. But if we get on a good core strengthening program, we can minimize that, if not eliminate that back pain altogether. So these are very important. So this motion is going to be a fairly dynamic position, a fairly dynamic motion. We're going to engage the whole core area. We're not doing so much stability work with this one, but more of a loading through this area. There's a lot written about core strengthening and how to do it, and I've looked at a lot of stuff. But there's a lot of effective techniques and tools out there. And this is just one of many, so I'm not saying this is the only motion to do, but this is one of many that I would recommend. And I kind of like this one because we engage the hip flexor, some low abdominal, mid and upper abdominal as well, some oblique work. And then we're going to tie in the upper part of the body and tie in the spine up in this area because we're going to use our shoulders a little bit and engage the upper part of the spine, which is still part of that core system. Okay, so this one's done on the floor. I'm going to lay on the floor here. And our position, what I would recommend doing is laying right here, warming up the low back, just flattening out the low back a little bit, doing what we call a couple pelvic tilts. Once we feel the back is pretty warmed up, and we've already done some stuff to warm our entire body up, get the body core temperature up, the blood flow moving through the body. You never start core without doing that. We're going to lift one leg, and then we're going to bring our arms over our head. We're going to lift up to here. We're going to keep our chin kind of tucked into our body. We don't want our hands way forward. We want to keep them back so our elbows are about at our ears. And right away you can feel that start to load. What we're going to be is knee to knee in this position, and our back is going to be nice and flat here as our shoulders come off the ground. What we're going to do is we're going to do a rotation, pulling our arms slightly forward, but it's a tight circle. You notice my arms are coming way out in front of me. They're kind of staying by my head. They'll come forward a little bit, and we're going to keep all that load centered in this area. We want to do 15 clockwise and counterclockwise. And you'll notice that we're getting a lot of load here. This hip flexor becomes part of that whole core component, important muscle because it crosses the hip, ties into the pelvis right in this area. Then of course we've got to go to the other side and do the same thing. Choose a number that when you get done you've got some pretty good fatigue in there, but you don't lose control. This is not what we want to see. Bouncing off the shoulder blades, vaulting up over the shoulder blades, and we don't want the head jerking around. Keep the chin kind of tucked into the body, nice and tight. One of the things I hear with core training is a lot of people complain about their neck fatiguing. If your neck fatigues, it's the weak link in your core movement and the chain of motion. Then you need to stop and develop more strength through the neck and through the shoulder area. Don't keep going or don't try to support the head. We just promote more than weakness through the neck and between the shoulder blade area. Great exercise. This one you can almost do 3 to 4, maybe even 5 times a week. I would do these usually after a practice or after a skate.